How many games will your favorite NFL team win in 2024? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL reaction video. And in this video, I react to Bleacher Report's NFL record predictions for all 32 teams, including their division standings. That's right, it's Bleacher Report predictions, and they're not mine, so this is going to be exciting. Gronk spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more NFL predictions, NFL reactions, NFL rankings, and more here on the Bottom Line View. Also, get in the comments and let me know your thoughts on BR's division standings and record predictions. Let's go. Let's break it down. Predicting NFL division standings, Maurice Moten here on Bleacher Report with his predictions. Let's see if he's accurate or not. Let me know in the comments. Is he too high or too low on your favorite team? Let's begin with the AFC East. The Miami Dolphins, first place and 11-6. I will say this, Maurice. You're the first one I've seen to predict this. You're the first person I've actually read to predict the Dolphins. Now, the Bills have won the division 4 years in a row. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are getting a lot of hype, as they probably should be. And as you can see, he has the Jets at 10-7 in second place. Having the Bills in third place is controversial. It's bold. I'm not sure what you have against the Bills. I'm not sure if you're Kevin Durant under disguise, but it's odd. It's interesting. Let's read what he has to say about the Dolphins. The Dolphins tend to shrink in cold temperatures. Now they have a three-man backfield that features Mostert, Achane, and Wright, which will help them battle with physical teams in December and January. Once Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips return from injuries, Miami's defense should be able to get off the field and let its high-powered offense take over. I'm not so sure about that. The first part, with the running backs. I'm not so sure that the running backs are the reason this team lacks physicality up front. I'm not sure the running backs are the reason they can't run the ball or do anything in cold temperatures. Tua has a baby arm, so he's not able to push the ball through the wind and through the cold and through the snow. He's just not made for it. He's physically not big, thick, strong. He can't throw the ball through those conditions. And it throws off the timing and the rhythm of their offense. They're a finesse offense. They're a smoke and mirrors, motion, right, horizontal attack. And they're based on speed. So snow, cold, wind slows down players, believe it or not. Trust me, I'm from Canada. It has an effect. Okay, playing sports definitely has an effect. That as well, I will say, these running backs, it's not their fault, right? This is a horizontal rushing attack. This is a outside zone rushing attack. And once you take that away, and once teams study it and drill against it and understand the formations and the personnel they have to have out there and the fronts they have to play with and have out there, to stop it, they kind of slow it down. And that makes sense, right? So sure, the running backs might be worn down by the end of the year, but it has more to do with, my opinion, the offensive line not being able to get any push, not having physicality, not having elite players, actually being more scheme-driven than player-driven. And I think that's going to have an effect again, because when you look at their schedule, they play an absolutely brutal November, December, January schedule, which is why I would not include them as the first team in the AFC East, and which is why I don't have them in the playoffs right now. Because I just do not believe that whether they get Chubb and Phillips back or not, it doesn't really matter to me. This schedule is brutal. They tend to fade down the stretch every single year. And I do think that they are a bit overrated in terms of the names that they have on their team. But I think that their main areas of concern are up front. And I just think that is a big-time worry against even their own division. So Miami to 11-6, it's bold. I haven't really seen it much. I think that's kind of cool for that fact. But honestly, I don't really see it happening. don't see them winning 11 games in this division with this schedule. But the New York Jets, 10-7, that's right in line with what I have to say about the team. There's not really anything to say there other than the fact that, Aaron Rodgers with a good defense, as long as Rodgers is healthy and he can ball control this offense, manage the game, make enough throws here and there, and stay upright, hand the ball off to Breece Hall, get the ball to Garrett Wilson, the rest should take care of itself. As long as the coaches are not a complete disaster and they keep this team moving forward and getting better and trending upward, then they should be fine. Like the Jets definitely have a primetime schedule. I think they have just as many primetime games as anyone else. That will be interesting. That will be a challenge. But it's going to be a fun team to watch, I think, for defensive reasons, but also just for narrative reasons. I think that the NFL would be better if this team made the playoffs. It would be more fun if this team made the playoffs. And I think they will make the playoffs, as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy. 9-8 Bills is where it becomes a little controversial and a little odd. The Bills have won the division 4 years in a row. Josh Allen is that dude. Josh Allen is a dog. And honestly, I'm not picking a Josh Allen team to not make the playoffs. I do not care. He says that as Josh Allen builds connections with his new receivers and stronger ones with familiar faces, he may play a little more hero ball than the Bills would like to see, which could cost them some games. So basically what he's saying here is that Josh Allen is going to be the reason the Bills lose games. Bro is on drugs. Yet he's talented enough to get hot and go on a run similar to last season. He's been doing it for 4 years in a row, Maurice. Despite key departures on defense, head coach Sean McDermott maintains a top-tier unit to help out an offense that might struggle in spots. Honestly, I think the offense by the end of the year, if you actually look at the Bills' offense at the end of the year, they were a top 5 offense pretty much across the board, even with Stephon Diggs pretty much already phased out of the offense. The offensive line is good. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to improve and have a big year. I love James Cook. I actually like the kid Ray Davis, the backup running back. He's pretty interesting. They still got reliable guys that Allen's familiar with, like Khalil Shakir and Dawson Knox. They added Coleman in the draft, and Curtis Samuel should add an element of speed. So I'm not too worried about the Bills from an offensive standpoint. I think Allen is just that good. I think that they have an understanding when it comes to Joe Brady, Josh Allen, this offense, what they want to be, what their narrative is, what their identity is, what they are looking to achieve. And I think that there was kind of a loss of identity last year, and they sort of figured it out once Brady became the OC. DC-wise, defensive-wise, I think they'll be good. I think they'll be solid. I don't think they'll be dominant, but I think they'll be very, very solid across the board. I love their secondary personally. I think their safeties are going to surprise people. I think their corners, they've got 3 or 4 deep that are all legit good players. Matt Milano is going to be a loss for a while, but I think he'll come back near the end of the year once they push for that playoff spot. So would I be shocked if the Bills finish second in their division and maybe made the wild card or just missed the playoffs? I wouldn't necessarily be absolutely shocked. I would be shocked if they finished third in their division. That would be pretty shocking to me, So I just don't see it happening with the best quarterback by far in this division. I just don't see it happening. Some people will say Rodgers is close to Allen. It's not even close. Tua is not close to Allen. So for me, I just don't know how they're at least not second. I could buy into the Jets at their absolute peak being better than the Bills, but that's going to take some time. I could maybe see a world where the Dolphins are better than the Bills, but not both, honestly. I just don't see a world where both of them are better than the Bills. And then the final team is the Patriots at 3-14, which is actually less wins than they won last year. So Maurice, bro, that's tough. He says the Patriots are building a new culture in their first year without Bill Belichick since 1999. Well, he became the coach in 2000. Yeah, 1999. It's just weird to see that. New England traded its most established pass rusher, Matthew Judon, to the Atlanta Falcons. He didn't really play last year, though, so I would bring that up. And the offense will go through rough stretches with either or both journeyman quarterback Jacoby Brissett and rookie Drake May. Patriots have a couple intriguing rookie receivers, Polk, Baker, who could bring a spark to the offense. They're in full rebuild mode, though. I would say that, okay, yes and no. I think that honestly, the quarterback position is probably not going to be worse than last year. We had Bailey Zappi playing quarterback. Bailey Zappi got cut by the Patriots before the year and nobody picked him up. That's how bad Bailey Zappi is. The O-line, it's going to be bad, but is it going to be worse than last year? It's honestly hard to do that. It's hard to achieve. The receivers, they were terrible last year. Are they going to be worse than last year? Like Kendrick Bourne got hurt. Ramondre got hurt at running back. He's back, right? Defensively, I still think they're going to be very good. Barmore, I think, hurts way more than Judon, to be fair. I still think they'll be a top 10 defense. Probably not top 5 anymore, but still probably top 10. So I think they'll win 4 or 5 games. I don't think they're going to finish third in this division. I don't think they're going to be anywhere close to the playoffs, but I do think that Drake May is better than people think, first of all. And I also feel like they just honestly can't be worse than last year. Like, their kicker was a CFL quality kicker. Joey Sly looks like Adam Vinatieri compared to the guy. Like, and again, Bailey Zappi. So the Patriots, 3-14 after all the devastating close losses last year. Definitely one of the unluckiest teams last year. I think they were better than that last year. Like, they were better than a 4-win team or whatever they were last year. They were probably more of a 6-win team based on, like, luck and stuff like that. So I think that's going to turn around a little bit. I think they're going to win, like, 5 games. I know people don't believe me, but that's what I think is going to happen. Let's move to the AFC North. The Cincinnati Bengals win the division at 11-6. I like this prediction. As long as quarterback Joe Burrow stays healthy, the Bengals will be back atop the AFC North as they were in 21 and 22. And for whatever reason, people continue to just forget about 2021 and 2022. It's actually incredible how often people forget about things that happened in the NFL not that long ago. The last time Joe Burrow was healthy, this team was in the AFC Championship game, right? You can bet responsibly on the Bengals signing wideout Jamar Chase to an extension before week 1. With Chase, T. Higgins, an underrated Mike Gesicki at tight end, shout out. Cincinnati will field a prolific passing attack. I agree with that. I think they'll have one of the best passing attacks in the NFL. Lou Anarumo's defense will rank within the top 12 in takeaways for a third consecutive campaign to balance a playoff caliber squad. That's right. Their defense is opportunistic and very complimentary. I don't think they're a dominant defense or a stifling defense, but they're complementary and they're big game oriented with big game Lou. I feel like they're very good with their game plans. So I think the Bengals are going to win more than 11 games. You look at their schedule, they actually have one of the 5 easiest schedules in the NFL. And it's crazy to say that in the AFC North, but because they have a last place finish in the AFC North, they have one of the easiest schedules in the league. So I think the Bengals are going to win 12, 13 games after having one of the toughest schedules in the league last year, playing like 10 teams that had a winning record or something bizarre. So those fortunes are going to change. I think they'll be a healthier team this year. In terms of the quarterback position, for sure. The offensive line's better. I think the defense will be better all around. So I think the Bengals are the best team in this division. I think they'll win 12, 13 games. The Ravens, 10-7. That's fair, although I'd probably have them about 11, but I think 10 is, reasonable. The Ravens signed Derrick Henry, who fits the physical culture, though they could have issues blocking for him. I agree with that. And protecting a much slimmer Lamar Jackson. That's also a weird thing. I'm not sure why Lamar decided to get slimmer. I'm kind of worried about his health. They also lost, major coordinators and, assistant coaches on defense like Mike McDonald. So I think the Ravens, again, you guys know my take. I do think they're overall overrated. I agree with Maurice here that they're going to be more of a wild card caliber team this year and take a slight step back rather than being a dominant number 1, number 2 seeded AFC team. That's how I view the Ravens in 2024. The Steelers at 9-8 and the Browns at 8-9. I think this is pretty interchangeable, and I bet Maurice probably agrees with me. I kind of flip-flop each and every day. After watching Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I almost flip-flop back to the Browns. I do think the Browns have an overall more talented team. I also think that they have a very good coaching staff. I think that the Browns and the Steelers both have very quality coaching staffs all around, and they have very good defenses. I think where the difference in talent lies is that the Browns have more talent on offense. So it's kind of interesting. You know, the Browns were the better team last year. The Browns somehow won 11 games, I think, with Joe Flacco at quarterback for half the year. But that being said, I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be any good at all. And Deshaun Watson, I wouldn't really be shocked if Jameis Winston played like 5 or 6 games because Watson got hurt again. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. It just feels like that's what's happening to this guy at this point. And the Steelers, you know, I think they'll struggle with their offense, but Arthur Smith is smart. He'll run the ball. I think their O-line's going to help them. The athleticism of that line, I think he'll play action it. He'll screen it to the backs. He'll get a lot of yards after catch opportunities for this offense. I think the Steelers and the Browns are going to be very close. I think that it could go either way, 9-8, 8-9. That feels fair to me. I kind of feel like the Browns at 8-9 is maybe a little bit of shade on the Browns. Like, I feel like they're too talented to really predict them to go 8-9, you know what I mean? But it would have to take an absolutely dismal Deshaun Watson season, but that is potentially possible. They're also having to work back Nick Chubb into the fold, right? Can their defense potentially regress maybe a little bit from the outstanding performance of 2023? That's also possible. Their offensive line's beat up. They've got a new offensive line coach right there. So it's going to be interesting. I could see this one going either way. The AFC South. Maurice has the Texans at 12-5. He must be listening to my live streams. Says the Texans won't sneak up on anyone this year, yet they're still primed to become a juggernaut in the AFC with 2023 Offensive Rookie of the Year CJ Stroud. He has a new playmaker in Stephon Diggs, who will join Nico Collins, Tank Dell to form a high-level receiver trio. Joe Mixon can balance the offense. Houston can field a top 10 defense with the addition of 4-time Pro Bowl edge rusher Danielle Hunter. The Texans have no glaring weaknesses. They will be the AFC's number 1 seed. Love the shout. Love. This makes up for the Dolphins' absolute jabroni nature of that prediction. But the Texans at 12-5 is fan-freaking-tastic, Bleacher Report. Good job. Finally, they must be watching my live streams. Maurice must be watching my live streams. There's no way he's not. There's just no way. The Texans, I think I have as the 2 seed maybe in the AFC. They're definitely in my top 3, but I definitely have them as their division winner decisively. I think they're easily the best team in their division. I think the main areas that they'll improve is their pass rush. I also think that their corner position will improve from Derek Stingley being an absolute certified stud this year. And I also feel like just the offense will be more consistent. I think there'll be more rhythm to it, and it'll consistently be one of the best. Not like, oh, this week they're throwing up 38. The next week they're like scoring 21, right? So I think there'll be more consistency of them putting up near 30 points a week. And then I think their defense is going to be very explosive, very fast, make a lot of plays. And I wouldn't be shocked if the O-line was also a sturdy O-line to give them just enough floor up front to help CJ Stroud in this receiving core. So, yeah, the Texans are an absolute talented juggernaut of an AFC team. Jacksonville, 8-9. I don't hate it, although I'd probably rather them be at 9-8. It's 8-9, 9-8. It's one game. It's fine. The Jags added Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr., but they didn't have a problem with their offensive firepower. Kind of disagree with that a little bit. I think they needed some speed and some vertical dimension, which Brian Thomas Jr. looks phenomenal in training camp. And just even the small clips of the preseason, he looks like he's going to make a major difference. Their defense is good, though. Ryan Nielsen's very good defensive coordinator, also brought up here in the small little paragraph. Doug Peterson is a very good coach. The offensive line is the X factor of the team. I think if Trevor Lawrence remains healthy the entire year, they might make the playoffs. I could see them winning 9 games this year and making the playoffs as like the 6 or the 7 seed potentially. More like the 7 seed, but yeah, that's fine. I have Jags in second too. The Colts, 7-10. This is like exactly where I have the Colts. I'm exactly in line with Maurice here. Anthony Richardson has generated offseason buzz, though he has a small 4-game sample size and perhaps some growing pains ahead of him. Totally agree. Running back Jonathan Taylor has missed 13 games the last 2 years. I do think Taylor's going to have a big year, though. Rookie first round, Latu could make an immediate impact, but the Colts defense hasn't proven it can carry this team to victories. That's true. Their secondary stinks. I think the Colts are a little bit overrated by like a certain section of the NFL fan base. I think a lot of people just think Richardson's going to come in here and be Cam Newton. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but we'll see. I think they could be like 8-9, 9-8 potentially, but 7-10 is also very fair in my opinion. 5-12 Texans, I think is also kind of fair, but I do think they have more upside. I could see them winning 7 games. I could see them winning 8 games, right? I could see them winning 9 games. I think they're kind of a weird team. Let's see what Maurice has to say. Even though DeAndre Hopkins is banged up, quarterback Will Levis has pass catchers to make significant strides. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, and Pollard and Spears. Levis has a first-time play caller in head coach Brian Callahan. The Titans defense also has a first-time play caller, Denard Wilson. Very, very fair points, right? Will Levis, a young guy. Brian Callahan, first-time play caller. Denard Wilson, first-time play caller. It might take a little bit of time for them to really click. So this could be a little bit of a work-it-out season, rebuild season, retool season before they really break out in 2025. That's very possible. I think I have the Titans around 6 wins. So 5 is fair. The AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs at 11-6 does feel a little bit low in my opinion, although they are first in their division, which is fair. Kansas City has all sorts of question marks at receiver, according to NFL insider James Palmer. I haven't really heard of that, but the league could be suspending Rashee Rice. It's not going to happen, I don't think. Marquise Hollywood Brown will miss 4 to 6 weeks with a shoulder injury. Yeah, don't rely on him. Xavier Worthy is a rookie, yet the Chiefs will figure out everything with Mahomes. Kansas City has won at least 11 contests and advanced to the AFC Championship in every game or every season with Mahomes as its full-time starting quarterback. So, yeah, I think this will be interesting, though. Will they make the AFC Championship this year? Let me know in the comment section below. Will the Chiefs make the AFC Championship? Because I think you look at the AFC and you could see, multiple different teams making it. I think there's arguments for the Bills and the Jets in the AFC East. I wouldn't see the Dolphins advancing past one playoff game, personally. The AFC North, I think there's argument that the Bengals or the Ravens could make the AFC Championship game. I think there's an argument that Texans could make the AFC Championship game, and there's the Chiefs. So there's about 5-6 teams that I think could potentially make the AFC Championship. If teams are healthy, that will kind of decide some things, but that's an interesting question. Will the Chiefs make it? I think if they're the number 1 seed, they will make it. But I think if they're the number 3 or number 2, it's going to be a lot more difficult to go to Cincinnati or to go to Houston or maybe Baltimore or whatever and win that game and get to the championship game. So this could be a season where everyone's expecting them to get back there, get to the Super Bowl, three-peat. But they could also very easily have the worst season they've ever had with Mahomes, because that's not too hard to do. I mean, they've been to the AFC Championship every year he's been the starter. So if they just simply don't do that, and let's say they lose to Cincinnati in the divisional round, it wouldn't be too shocking, right? So just saying, it's very possible. The Chargers at 9-8, I think that's too high, personally. He does say that based on head coaches Jim Harbaugh's track record, Los Angeles will see immediate improvement. That said, the Chargers don't have the playmaking receivers to attack pass defenses, which I'm very worried about. Justin Herbert is already dealing with a foot injury too. I'm also worried about that. The Chargers can run the ball, but their top tailbacks have extensive recent injury histories. Yes, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they're not very talented either. Maybe Dobbins, but I mean, he's barely played in the NFL and he's had some serious injuries. So I don't know how the Chargers would win 9 games. I just don't see it. Their defense isn't good enough. They can't really run the ball and play defense. It's not a formula that works for them because they don't have a good enough defense. So for me, I think 9 is too high. The Raiders at 8-9, I respect it. Las Vegas has what it takes for a playoff push, except a bona fide starting quarterback. I agree, 100%. Devontae Adams, Christian Wilkins, Brock Bowers. Offensive coordinator Luke Getsy has a lot to prove after he struggled to develop Justin Fields. I will say that Luke Getsy, I thought, actually did a great job with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields sucks. I'm tired of the Justin Fields stuff, guys. Justin Fields is not good. He's bad. Luke Getsy actually did the most with Justin Fields. So I actually think their coaching staff's highly underrated. Their defensive coordinator, one of the best in the NFL. So I think that the Raiders, with Minshew, will win 7 or 8 games, and people will be a little bit surprised. I think they'll actually finish second in their division. The Broncos, 6-11. That's fine. I'm actually rising a little bit on the Broncos. You know, a lot of their fans have been mad at me. Watching a little bit of Bo Nix has me a little bit more convinced that they won't be like the worst team in the league. But I still see them winning like 4 or 5 games, maybe 6 at the most. Like, they just don't have a lot of talent. They don't have great receivers. They don't have like a phenomenal offensive line. If anything, it got worse, right? Javonte looks better this offseason, that's for sure. Greg Dulcich should help healthy, right? So they've got a little bit more than last year in that regard, but the defense is average at best. Like, they just don't have a lot of talent. So I think with a rookie quarterback, there's not a talented roster to uplift that guy. I think they're probably going to win 5, 6, 4 games, somewhere in that range. The NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles at 10-7 seems kind of low, in my opinion. The Eagles lost projected wins from our previous predictions because of rumors about a fractured relationship between head coach Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. That's pretty interesting. Okay, that's an interesting take. So yes, I heard of that. I just think they're too talented. I think Jalen Hurts, he's a professional. I don't think he's going to let that affect his play. I don't really think he's going to let that affect his team. I just think Jalen Hurts is too good. Too good of a pro, too good of a player. I think they've got too many big personalities in terms of leaders in their locker room, guys like Brandon Graham, guys like A.J. Brown, guys like Saquon, Lane Johnson. It's not going to affect this team, I don't think, that much. I mean, yes, it did over the last half of the season last year, but that wasn't really, I think, a quarterback coach thing. I think that was just a team falling apart for some reason. So maybe we're not really looking into that enough, but to me, like, the O-line is too good. The pass rush is there. They've got offensive and defensive coordinators that are respected now that should fix some things. So I think the Eagles will win the division with 11 or 12 wins, in my opinion. The Cowboys, 9-8. I think that's very fair. That's what I have them at, as second in the division. I think they will regress, and they won't win 12 games for like the 4th year in a row. But I still think they could make the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked that they won 10 games and made the playoffs 9 games and they were the 7 seed, something like that. But the Cowboys will likely sign CeeDee Lamb to a massive extension before week 1. He's Dak Prescott's go-to receiver and the team's best offensive playmaker, no doubt about that. On the other hand, Dallas may lack offensive balance with Zeke and unproven running backs. Rico Dowdle. The Cowboys transition from former defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to Mike Zimmer, whose last 2 units ranked 24th or worse in scoring and total yards. Seems like a downgrade. Interesting stat. Haven't thought of that before. Didn't really look into that before. I respect Mike Zimmer as a defensive coach personally, but it is very fair to say Dan Quinn is the better coach at this point. Washington Commanders at 8-9 is absolutely outrageously high. The Commanders are not an 8-9 football team. They are not good. Jaden Daniels is not going to be good as a rookie. The O-line is not good. The receiving core is not good. Terry McLaurin's good. No one else is. Tight ends, nope. Running backs, nope. Defense, no. They got good linebackers. That's it. D linemen, interior D linemen. That's it. Like, the Commanders are not an 8-9 team. They're like a 3-14 team. They're like a 4-13 team. If you think the Commanders are 4 games better than the New England Patriots, 5 games better than the New England Patriots, you are on coke. You are on drugs. You are on something. Jeez. The New York Giants at 4-13. Again, another team that I don't think is better than the Patriots necessarily, but given their division and given their conference, I can understand why they have more wins. That being said, Daniel Jones looks like an absolute joke. The offensive line is not going to be very good. The receiving core outside of Malik Neighbors is pretty vanilla. Your running back position is lacking any burst or explosion fun at all. The defense, I think, has a good front 7, but lacking a lot of elements in the secondary. So I think Brian Daboll is going to be under the hot seat this year. This whole regime is going to be on the hot seat this year after they just failed this year, because I just don't think they have enough in terms of the key elements to win games here. So it wouldn't shock me if this team won like 6 or 7 just because they have a good coaching staff, but I don't necessarily believe that that's what's going to happen. So, although I will say, I think the Giants and the Commanders are a lot closer than a 4-game difference. I don't see that at all. The NFC North, the Detroit Lions at 12-5 is interesting. Okay, that's pretty standard, I think. Dan Campbell, stud. They added Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Carlton Davis, and Meek Robertson. Love the shouts there. Good research. The Lions will have a much improved defense to match their high-powered offense. Yes, they seem a lot more complete this season. They seem like a team that should take a step forward. But honestly, if the Lions lost in like the divisional round or the wild card, would anyone really be surprised? Probably not, right? It's kind of interesting with the Lions where last year might actually be a better result at the end of the day, but they might actually be a better team this year. Because, when you think about it, it doesn't always work out that way. Injuries take place, rhythm, momentum, things like that. Matchups go your way. Like, the Lions got to play a pretty underwhelming Rams roster in the playoffs, a pretty kind of mediocre playoff team in Tampa. Like, they got pretty weak opponents in their playoff games. Then they nearly knocked off the Niners. But I could definitely see the Lions going to the Super Bowl, but I could also see them losing the wild card. So, 12-5, I definitely think they're the safest pick to win their division. Although the Green Bay Packers at 11-6 is also a very good prediction. I think the Packers are legit. So he says the Packers will be one of the league's most intriguing teams because they have a budding offense led by Jordan Love and multiple receivers, 25 years or younger. New defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley may be able to elevate an underachieving unit that features multiple recent first-rounders at every level. Totally agree. Green Bay continues to trend in the right direction as a team on the rise. 11-6 feels right. I still think there's going to be bumps in the road for them. I think there's going to be ups and downs for them. They're going to be less consistent than Detroit, but I think they might have a higher ceiling at the end of the day. So I like that one. Chicago at 10-7. Woof. Okay. The Bears will make a surprise run for a playoff spot in a highly competitive division. Caleb Williams, this year's number 1 pick, has the supporting cast to lead a top 10 passing attack with Keenan Allen, who looks fat, slow, and out of shape, and probably not going to be good this year. That's just my perspective. DJ Moore, who's an absolute stud. Rome Odunze, who could be a stud. And Williams could be the franchise's first 4,000-yard passer. I could see that. Chicago's defense has a Pro Bowl caliber player on every level. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I think the Bears could definitely go 10-7. I'm not even going to hate on this, to be honest. I think they're like right there. It kind of depends on the consistency of their defense, the offensive line, and Caleb and his play and his mistakes or his high-end play. And Keenan Allen is a little bit of an X factor. Like, is he washed? Because he looks horrible. Even the preseason, he looks so slow. He looks done, bro. I don't know what to say about him. The Vikings 7-10. I think that's probably too many wins at this point. They did sign Gilmore. I like that. J.J. McCarthy, he's out, unfortunately. Sam Darnold, and this was still, after J.J. McCarthy got hurt, so I will say that. Sam Darnold, I hope he does well. I do really love the coaching staff, though. O'Connell, Flores. O-line is good. Pass rush could be interesting. Their defense is going to be really fun to watch because they'll blitz more than anybody in the league. They'll drop 8 more than anybody in the league. They're going to be a fun team to watch. There's no doubt about that. 7-10 is interesting. Falcons at 9-8 winning the division. The Falcons added Judon. I don't know if they added Simmons at this point when he made these predictions, but I think the Falcons, honestly, like with the additions of Judon and Simmons, I feel a lot better about them. I think they could win 9 or 10 games now, and I think they should win their division. Of course, you just have to say, if Cousins is healthy, like he is way better than Desmond Ridder. They're not even on the same planets, so that's huge. Can Kyle Pitts finally break out? Big question. And it's a rookie coaching staff. Don't forget about that. But they have an easy schedule. They do have the best offense in the division. They have an absolute stud at running back. They have a good offensive line, and their defense should be better in terms of the pieces they have, but Nielsen for Raheem Morris. We'll see how Morris utilizes these players. Tampa at 8-9 feels about right, although 9-8 is also a possibility. 7-10 is a possibility. I think the Bucs have actually improved their roster this offseason, but I wouldn't be shocked if a tougher schedule gave them more fits this year. So 8-9, that feels about right? Like, I hope Baker plays well. I really like watching the Bucs. They're a lot of fun. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad White. The defense is always fun with Antoine Winfield and Levante David. So I hope the Bucs win the division, to be honest, but I think the Falcons probably have the edge at this point. The Saints at 7-10 feels standard. Not really going to say anything here other than, let's see what he says in terms of, Carr has a new coordinator, Clint Kubiak, but he may also have a shaky offensive line. Guard Lucas Patrick drew 11 penalties last season. Offensive tackle Trevor Penning has struggled in the pros. Fuaga is a rookie. The Saints defense won't allow a ton of points, but the offensive line could cost them games. Totally agree. I think this is a back-breaking type of season for the Saints franchise, in my opinion. If they do not win at least 9 games, I think they're going to be in like sell mode. The Panthers 5-12 feels about right, like just in terms of a natural progression from the worst team in the league. Getting a new coach, Bryce Young in year 2, better offensive line, perhaps a better defense, adding Jonathan Brooks, adding Deontay Johnson, adding Xavier Legette. They should be better at 5-12. I agree with that. NFC West, the Niners at 11-6, which would make them the 2 seed in the NFC behind the Lions. The Niners can reach 11 wins with or without Brandon Ayuk. Kyle Shanahan, maybe he's being a little bit conservative because of that, but I'm not sure. Kyle Shanahan's run-heavy offense needs McCaffrey, but it can rotate decent pass catchers. I will say, though, Jordan Mason, if anybody hasn't watched Jordan Mason, go watch Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason, good player. Elijah Mitchell can play. McCaffrey can miss a couple games. They'll be fine. Debo, Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, they got enough, I think. But Brandon Ayuk will be there. I'm not really doubting it at this point. Going into his 3rd year, quarterback Brock Purdy should be more comfortable in Shanahan's system. Despite a revolving door at defensive coordinator, the Niners have maintained a stout unit. Nick Sorensen's play calling inexperience won't significantly hurt the group. I do think that Brandon Staley being there to kind of help him will also help. I think that the team just drafted an absolutely stud draft class. Everything I've seen from that draft class, it's been star. So the Niners, I wouldn't be shocked if they won 13 again, just depending on their health. It's going to come down to health for them at the end of the day. The Rams, 10-7. If Matthew Stafford stays healthy, Los Angeles is a playoff team. Fair. Not really going to hate on that. We'll say I don't love their defense. Kyron Williams, don't even bring up Blake Corum, bro. Kyron Williams is the dude. They can attack defenses on the ground or through the air, absolutely. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's been looking good in training camp. That's a good sign. Without Aaron Donald, the Rams' young defensive front can make a name for itself. In 2023, Byron Young and Kobe Turner registered 17 sacks and 50 pressures combined. Rookies Jared Verse and Braden Fisk will join them. Collectively, the quartet could wreak havoc in the trenches. I don't think the defensive line is going to be as good as this guy thinks. I think they're going to be like 9-8, 10-7. That feels right. I think their defense is going to struggle, but I think they're going to score a lot of points. You always have to worry about Kupp's health, Stafford's health, things like that. Seahawks 8-9, I think that's too low. I think they'll be better than that. I think they'll actually make the playoffs. So I have kind of the Seahawks in, the Bears out. It's just my opinion. But the Bears could make the playoffs. Again, wouldn't be shocked. The Bears could make it over the Rams, to be honest. The Seahawks are a wildcard NFC West squad. Okay. So wait. He has the 7th wildcard as 8-9? Huh? No, that doesn't make sense. Nah, that's not what he means. They're just a wild card team. You shouldn't say that. You should say X Factor. They hired first-time head coach Mike McDonald, who fielded the #1 scoring defense as the Ravens defensive coordinator. With multiple Pro Bowl defensive backs on the roster, he's going to turn Seattle's defense into a top 10 unit. Thank you, sir. Nonetheless, Geno Smith's play will make or break this team. Geno is fine. He's good. He's fine. People underrate Geno. He saw a drop-off in his passing efficiency from 22 to 23. Smith may be under pressure with the new coaching staff. Sam Howell could start some games. Only if they're really bad. Only if they're real bad. But Sam Howell's a baller, bro. Sam Howell's a baller. Drew Lock won a game for them last year. Arizona Cardinals 6-11. Very fair. I completely agree. Defense sucks. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, and Greg Dortch. Don't forget about Greg Dortch and James Conner. Playoff seeding. So he has the Texans, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Jets, and the Bills. Oh, so he has the Bills in the playoffs. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough then. But I will say, Texans at 1 and Bengals at 2. That's some Mitch-like testicles right there. I like that a lot. That's very Mitch-like. I like that right there. That might even be my top 3. Dolphins I don't agree with. You guys know that. But otherwise, I like it. NFC, Lions at 12-5. Okay, I can believe it. Although I'd probably still have the Niners first. Lions probably second. Eagles, fine at 3, although 10 feels kind of low for a 3rd seed. 4, Falcons at 9-8 feels fine. 5, Packers, yes. 6, Rams, sure. 7, Bears, okay, I can buy it. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So you guys kind of understand where I stand now. Let me know what you thought about Bleacher Report's standings. Maurice Moten here. You can check out the full article on Bleacher Report. You guys already know. You can find me on Bleacher Report as well. I'm always on there talking about the NFL all the time. So if you want more content from me, make sure to follow me on the BR app. And if you haven't already, subscribe, Gronk spike the like button. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.